Oh, is that, have you actually asked it?
That's your part. Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I am Dave Champion from the band Champs. Um, we're from the Isle of Wight originally. Uh, both now still live in London. I've done for a few years. And we have a new album coming out next month called Ride the Morning Glass, which will be our fourth studio album.
So I'm always curious when it comes to naming albums. How did you come up with the name Ride the Morning
Um,
Glass?
so the morning glass is actually it's a surfing term. So Mike's a big surfer, always has been. And morning, like glassy conditions is when the sea's like super calm and it looks like glass. So riding the morning glass is an expression about getting out first thing and riding the waves, basically.
Have you been out surfing? Or is
No, I did a bit when I was a kid, but not like to the level that Mike's sort of quite serious. I'm more of a landlubber.
so I'm curious with that with him being more of the surfer type, has that impacted more on this album in terms of just because I know once you start surfing, there's that weird mentality that kind of starts forming, and you're very laid back in that kind of realm,
Yeah.
stereotype wise.
Well, I wouldn't say laid back. Every surfer I know is sort of possessed by the sort of the need to get out when the waves are good, and like when the waves are pumping, they sort of glaze over and become all consumed by it. So definitely, then that's definitely not chill surfers. That's a myth. They're the most like when the waves are good, they are the most single-minded people you ever meet in your life. But I mean, I think Mike's always been a surfer, so there's been no change with this album. If you know what I mean, he's always been that's always been part of his life essentially.
Every surfer I've met acts all like super calm and whatnot. Now I'm hearing that it's totally the opposite. It's very interesting
I
aspect.
tell you what it probably is because the surf isn't that good where we're from, or it's not that good that often. So I think if
Yeah.
you live in like California or Hawaii and it's good all the time, you know it's always there. I think it's the fact that it's good so rarely where we're from that when it is good, you've got to drop everything to be there because it's one of like a few days a month you're going to get that are worth surfing. So that's probably what it is. I imagine like
Yeah.
surfers from the Gold Coast and South Africa and Australia and America are probably pretty chill.
Yeah. I'd say Michigan surf is kind of weird. It's they're crazy because it's just they're fighting against like ice.
Oh,
Yeah. There are some
that's
crazy people
hardcore.
out there. Yeah.
Michigan. So hang on, isn't Michigan near like lakes?
Yes. Yeah, it's surrounded
You can
by
surf,
Great Lakes, yeah.
well, can you
They are
surf
massive.
lakes?
You can.
No, I didn't know they're big enough to get a swell.
Okay, so technically Michigan's Great Lakes are kind of like a sea. They're that
Right.
deep. They kind of can they're I don't know why they call them lakes. They should be calling them seas at this point because of how
Oh,
deep the water is.
that is so cool. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
There's so many the amount of boats that sink in the pretty much I think it was like Lake Huron is insane.
wow. That's scary. Lakes freak me out a bit. I don't know why. They scare me more than the sea. Something about it being an enclosed body of water makes me feel ooh,
Yeah.
a bit
Yeah.
spooked.
I agree with you. I'm not much of a water person. I'll go ice skating, that's a totally different story.
Ah, yeah, nice. Yes. I like a bit of ice
But
skating.
so now with this album potentially coming out next month, I'm curious to know how are you feeling about it?
Very good, thanks. Yeah, it's an album that's been a long time in the making. Some of the songs on there are like 5+ years old. And we're very lucky because we had the guy who produced it, a guy called James Thorpe, runs a studio called Red Squirrel Studios on the Isle of Wight. And we used to live a 3 minute walk from that studio. And he is an amazing guy and basically let us go around that studio and demo for years and years and years. And some of the demos that were, first laid down in sort of like 2014, 2015 ended up being songs that made it onto this album. So because of that, I sort of don't have any. I'm sure Mike would feel the same. I don't really have any regrets about this album. I think sometimes when you're up against it time wise, you can look back when the album's finished and think, if I had a bit more time, I would have improved this or changed this. But we kind of had the luxury of time with this one. We sort of had almost unlimited time to sort of tweak it. So because of that, yeah, to answer your question, I'm feeling very good about it because I don't have every time I listen to it, I don't have that feeling which I've had with previous albums where something annoys me because I would have changed it if we'd had more time. So that's a very luxury position to have, to be honest, but very lucky. So yeah, I feel good about it. I'm excited, and I think it's the closest representation sonically of what we've always tried to achieve. I think our first album was quite sort of folky. Second one was a bit more poppy. Third one was quite sort of poppy, rocky, and kind of polished. And I think this one almost goes a little bit full circle production wise to our first album. It feels a bit more, and this is no criticism of the other albums, but this one feels very alive. It's got quite a lot of spirit within it. It's got quite a lot of, it's quite organic compared to the second and third albums. So yeah, I feel it's a perfect blend of everything that's come before. It's got elements of real organic stringed instruments, but also sort of good electronic elements as well. So nice synthesizers and whatnot. So yeah, I'm pleased with it.
Yeah. Uh, Honestly, like I said earlier, I've been listening to the album all day, and you pretty much said exactly what I'm thinking in my head. I love this. There's this like feeling of it being a daydream in a way. Like you've been here before, but you can't like put the picture together just yet. But as the story, as the songs progress, you kind of feel like you have been there yesterday and didn't know that. It gave me very much of like Sparks, like the band Sparks and Passion Pit was like my
Oh,
first
cool.
those were like my first go to, maybe because it was um similar vocal chords for at least Passion Pit, but it had both the Sparks and Passion Pit had that both dreamy aspects, and I felt that exact same feeling when I was listening to the album, especially gosh, trying to figure out which one I want to say out loud. Um, Especially with All the Wrong Places and then 33. I felt that
Oh,
especially.
cool. I mean, that's a massive compliment. So I'll take that. We're fans of both of those bands. And yeah, if any of it sounds anything like what they've done, I'll take that any day of the week. That's really nice to hear. I think yeah, the sort of dreamlike thing as well. I think we're sort of lyrically we've never been too literal in our meanings. It's a lot of it's metaphor and a lot of it's imagery, and it's almost like I think a lot of the lyrics are more about conjuring up an atmosphere and a feeling rather than necessarily describing a set of events. Obviously songwriting varies hugely, but I think some writers stray more towards literal things. But yeah, ours is more about imagery and atmosphere, and yeah, creating a sort of broad palette of emotions. Um, and I think sort of we intentionally leave some of it a bit ambiguous and open to interpretation of the listener. So I think it comes from lived experiences and lived emotions, but I think
Yeah.
we try and keep an air of universality. Is that right? Yeah, in those lyrics to try and just create a mood or a feeling or an atmosphere more than anything.
So, with you said earlier, there's a lot of songs on here that haven't been touched in 5 years and brought back to life. Out of those five songs, which one are you like? Not five songs in particular, the 5 years. Was there a
Yeah,
certain song that kind of like stood out, being like, I need to make sure this is in this new album?
yeah. I think there's one. My Baby Lorraine, I think, is one of those ones that's pretty old. I think that was probably from 2016 or 17 maybe. And that was one when we first put that down. We were sort of like, okay, this is cool. This has got a bit of bit of attitude, and it's funnily enough when we first did that one, we thought that sounded a bit like Sparks actually. We literally said that ourselves. We said this has got a bit of Sparks vibe about it.
Oh, so
So I think that's one that, yeah, when we first did it, we thought that's cool. That's quite exciting and quite interesting, and it was a bit different, I think, to anything we've done before as well. That track, it's the vocals sound a bit different to how we usually do them, a bit drier, a bit more direct. Um, yeah, and I always sort of feel like that song kind of feels like it's alive. It feels like a big machine that's kind of like breaking down or something. It feels like it's sort of breathing, that song. Um, which I don't really know how we did that, but it feels like it's sort of rolling and, yeah, feels mechanical, but sort of like I always think of, like, have you ever seen the film weirdly, it's just such a weird reference.
all
You
right.
know the film Wild Wild West, the Will Smith film,
Yes, yes, I
like the
do.
giant mechanical spider and that. That's
Yes.
kind of what I think of when I think of that song. It's just like this sort of living, breathing, but mechanical thing that's sort of
Ooh,
grinding and breathing.
I'm gonna have
So
to
yeah,
re-listen to that song now.
yeah, maybe I mean you might not, you
I'm
might not
not going to have a
know.
completely different image in my head now.
But yeah, that is kind of, it's got this feeling about it, that song. I don't know how we did it, but it feels really yeah, it feels kind of like it's breathing. That's what I always come back to. But yeah, that I'd say that song was one that really jumped out. Another one maybe uh what was it called? Where My Heartbeat Likes the Wildlife. That's another really old one. Um and yeah, I think that always kind of stood out quite early as just one that would probably make it in some capacity. And it's not a single, and it won't be a single, but it's a nice. I always just think that's a really nice album track. That's yeah, quite just nice, to be honest. And I always find it interesting every time I've played the album to friends over the last sort of year or so. Someone's picked out a different favorite song every time, which I've been really happy about, because I think, hopefully that speaks to the strength of the album.
Yeah, no,
It's
it's
not just,
especially if they're picking individual ones that are not unlike the other one. It kind of gives you
yeah,
that feeling that it's more of a great album as opposed to
yeah,
just a couple hits here and there.
yeah, hopefully that's the case. Yeah, but that's how I've always felt, which is nice. I had one friend who pulled that track out, Where My Heartbeat Likes the Wildlife, and he said, "Whoa, what was that one? Play that one again." And I sort of thought, wow, that's interesting. Like, no one's ever picked that one out. He was obsessed with it. So yeah, I always think that's interesting
I
and
think
encouraging.
from honestly, my like go-to track would be The Deadly Son of Hollywood. That's mine.
That's mad. See, there we go again. That's crazy. I never, ever, ever would have thought
I
that.
naturally gravitated to it because I love the feel of it and it just hits a couple like nerves with me and I'm like, okay, all right,
Ah, wow. See, that is honestly case in point. That's so interesting that you've
yeah.
picked that up, because that is Mike and I would sort of be like, yeah, that's a solid album track, but that's so fun. That's really cool that you've picked that out as one that stands out. And actually, yeah, it's got that rhythmic. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite a vibe. Yeah.
It's the one that I can definitely see myself driving, hearing that song in the background on my way to work and not feel the like dread of going to work.
Oh wow,
It
amazing.
has that feel to it.
Oh, thank
As
you.
much
That's
as I'm
so
trying
good.
to avoid going to work.
Glad to help you, even in a small way
Yeah.
like that. That's great. Love
So
it.
I'm so with this being your fourth album, do you feel that this album will be like the top album for you? Or do you still like lay back to your first album and think that?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's funny because for the reason I was saying earlier, I actually rarely listen to our previous albums, because I will always hear something that, because I was involved in the making of it, annoys me that another person would never notice. But I'll always hear, like
Yeah.
something that was wrong or something that could have been changed. So I actually don't listen to our previous albums that much, but when I do, I'm always pleasantly surprised by them, which is good. But I'd say this is an album that I think I'd play to someone. When you're playing your own music, I found that you get hyper self-conscious about it and you get hypercritical because you're sort of a bit about it. And there's been previous albums where there's one or two tracks I'd skip if I was showing it to someone because I'd sort of go, oh, that one's a bit slow or that one's a bit.
Yeah.
But this is, I think, probably the first album where I don't think I'd do that with any track. I think I'd just, I think every song has its place, and I think every song in this album really stands on its own 2 feet. And again, no, that's not to say that that wasn't the case with any of the previous ones, but you have your own insecurities about some songs because you were involved in making them, and it's not necessarily even anything real. It's just sort of a memory you have or some weird association you have. But this is, yeah, I think this is an album where I wouldn't skip it a single track if I was playing it to someone. I'd sort of be like, yeah, this one has its place. So in that sense, I think it's probably my favorite one. The first one's obviously special, and the first one's very, very atmospheric, and it's quite different, to anything else. But no, I think this one's the best mix of all of our influences and everything that we've done before, sort of amalgamated into a sort of best parts of that. That's how I feel about it. It's sort of the best of everything we've done before.
All right. Yeah, because I had the chance to listen to the first album and a little bit of the third album. I'm I'm still getting into Evolve in your catalog, okay? I kind of became a fan over the last couple days. So, and I definitely can see how this album feels like it's going to be like that album where not saying it has like this great potential of blowing up in a way that hits it's gonna not to get like that mad I hate saying the word viral, but it has that potential of being knowledge worldly acceptant in a way.
Oh, that's nice. That's really good to
Yeah.
hear. Yeah. I've said this in interviews before actually, and I think it always sounds weird, but we never sort of think of ourselves. Obviously, we are very much a British band, but we'd always we've always had fans from other places. To be honest, we've always had quite a few American fans and quite a few South American fans as well, randomly. But
Same
we've
here.
always, yeah, we've always felt like there's a sort of, I don't know, I feel like this album feels quite cinematic and it feels
Yeah.
quite, it's interesting that you said driving because that's how we always describe this album. It's a good driving album. And whenever I listen to it, I do picture, driving across the desert in America. So I'd like to think we don't sound like a British band with like a British sound too much. And
I
obviously, a
know.
lot of my favorite music, much of my favorite music is British. That's no
Yeah.
slight on British music, but I feel like this album does sound almost. I don't know. I feel like if you didn't know where we were from, you wouldn't really be able to work it out.
I don't, it's very funny. I didn't really fully, when I first looked up you guys, looked up the PR information on you guys, didn't even come across the idea that you guys were from England. So when I was listening to the music, I didn't pick up British music. And then going back and I'm like, well, they don't sound like a 1975, like the Manchester, or yeah, like 1975 or Arctic Monkeys. It's like I said earlier, it's
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
that Sparks and Passion Pit, and Sparks is an American group, so
Yeah. 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 Exactly. That's
yeah,
great to hear. I'm glad I'm not imagining that. That's good to hear that. Corroborated by someone.
yeah. There's like random like question cards just for people to kind of get to know you on a fun level.
Nice.
It'd be like go easy. If you were to press shuffle on your music playlist right now, what would be like the first song that would pop on?
Oh, probably like Aldous Harding, The Barrel. That's probably the song that I've listened to most over the last couple of
Ooh,
years. Aldous Harding, she's from New Zealand, and it's
okay.
like it's quite folky, but quite sort of eccentric, lyrically, quite irreverent and quite fun, but also quite serious. She's amazing, basically.
I never
Um,
heard of her, so
so
I'm
it'd be
definitely writing
yeah,
this down.
Yeah, check it out. Check it out. It's Aldous Harding.
Oh,
Um, I think she's amazing. So, or yeah, that or Kurt Vile. Kurt Vile's like my other sort of absolute go-to. If I'm sort of at a loss for what to listen to, I can put on pretty much any Kurt Vile album and I'll be happy.
definitely. Oh my gosh, I had never heard the first one before, so I was like, all right, I gotta write this down.
Nice, check it out.
Um, shoot, let's see. Uh, trying to think. Which movie would you like to have unlimited sequels to?
Oh, interesting. What? So, which movie would I like to see like continuous sequels made of?
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
Example, like the Shrek movie, like having 100 Shrek movies.
Oh, I mean, Shrek's a good shout to
It's
me. Shrek is a powerful franchise, and I would
yes.
not complain. Um, that's such a good question. Um, hmm.
Shrek is way too powerful.
Well, I think like one of my favorite films, full stop, is probably like Interstellar. So I'd love to
Ooh.
see like I know the story does like close itself as a loop, but I'd love to
Yeah.
see a sequel of that. I'd love another Interstellar to be made, basically, because that is like one of the most, in my mind, one of the most powerful films ever made, one of the most thought-provoking and emotional films ever. So I'd probably say that. I wouldn't. It wouldn't really work, but I just want Christopher Nolan to make another Interstellar, basically.
I mean, like, there's always potential because you're
Yeah,
dealing with space,
that's it, right? Yeah, that's
and space is
true.
infinite. If Star Trek can have how many seasons, then there might be something that can be taken out of
Yeah,
it.
we need to have
Doctor
a
Who
word
has
with.
how many,
Yeah, that's true. And I'm not usually. That's the thing. I'm not really like a sci-fi person
yeah.
generally. I feel like Interstellar sort of transcended that. It's like a sci-fi film that isn't. So yeah, we need to get on the phone to Christopher and have a word.
Well, yeah, right now, is it Christopher Nolan that's doing another movie? I was just thinking about it, because there's uh, I think it's Christopher Nolan doing some Lindenberg movie,
Oh
and then,
yes, I did see that. Yeah.
but it's the same day as the Barbie movie, and
Oh,
yeah,
big clash, big clash.
it's gonna be amazing. If you had to pick, which one would you pick, the Christopher Nolan or the Barbie movie?
Depends how much I'd have to drink, I reckon. If I'd had a
I
couple of, if I'd been at like a boozy brunch, it's going to be Barbie movie all day, and I don't think I'd regret it. But if I'm feeling reflective, it's definitely going to be Christopher Nolan. But the Barbie movie looks insane. It looks so cool.
looks amazing, and I love the fact that oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. Ryan Gosling took a huge pay cut just to play Ken.
No way.
He was willing to cut his pay to bare minimum just so he can play Ken.
Oh, what a guy! I always knew he was a good egg. What a dude.
I'm not usually big on him, but like the fact that he did that, I was like, damn, now I have to go
Yeah,
see this
yeah,
movie. I
that's
was
it.
going to see it, but now I have to.
Yeah, he's gone way up in my estimation there straight away. What a boy.
Here, we'll do one last one. What are you currently obsessed with?
Ooh, hmm, hmm. I mean, football, soccer. Like
Yeah.
I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan, so I'm pretty much always obsessed with that and how we're doing. And if anyone reading this understands the history of Tottenham, they're a team that put you through quite a lot of stress and emotional turmoil. So it's quite hard to not be constantly consumed by that football team. So that's probably like the constant that I'm obsessed with. I mean, it's a bit of a boring answer because everyone's the same, but I'm watching The Last of Us. We're just about to do episode 3, which is meant to be like the one that's like whoa.
Yeah.
So pretty obsessed with that actually. I'm very obsessed with Succession, the TV show, and there's a new season coming soon, and that is. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen Succession yet. I have HBO. I just finished both seasons of White Lotus. which
Oh,
was
I need to do that. I need to do that.
it's fucking amazing. I have like I knew going into it it was gonna be that dark comedy, but I didn't expect it to be that good.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, I mean it's HBO. It's going to be amazing, isn't it? I
Yeah.
need that's next on my list for sure. But yeah, Succession is unbelievably good, and it's created by. Have you ever seen Peep Show, like the UK comedy?
You know, it's been a hot moment since I heard of Peep Show, but I think I have.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite comedies. I think it captures like the essence of bleak Britishness better than anything
Okay.
I've ever seen on screen. But one of the co-creators of that is the creator of Succession. So I think that's why I like it so much because it's like the best of American and British sensibilities combined. Like, I think it's some of the best, funniest script writing I've ever seen, and the story's amazing. So yeah, I'm obsessed with the return of that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a couple more episodes of The Last of Us before I jump into it. Just so
That
that
makes sense.
yeah. I figured I'm
Yeah,
like I want to binge watch it as much as I can and
yeah.
not miss an episode at the
You don't
same
want to catch
time.
up with real time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm,
And I've
I'm
played
with
the
you.
video game before, so I'm familiar with it. So I'm hoping
Ah,
I'm gonna be
that's
very
cool.
judgy. That's also the
Yeah,
thing.
I think it's quite a faithful recreation, though, right, of the game.
So far it is. I've seen some like screen by shots of the game
Oh wow.
and the shot and it looks on point. So
Oh,
I'm
sick.
excited.
Oh,
I'm
that's cool.
hoping there's this pharmacy scene that I'm hoping that they do that I'm really excited for. And it should
Oh,
be on
nice.
the next episode.
Okay, I'll
I'm
keep an eye out for
hoping.
that. Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
but
Okay, cool.
yeah. With that being said, you know, the album comes out on the 26th. You have a couple songs out now. Anything else that we should know in advance? Is there a music video potentially?
Yeah, there might be a video. Yeah, I'm not sure at the moment. There might be a video for the single we just released, which was Heaven, what Heaven's Been Looking For. And the next single is going to be Hidden in the Dark, which is where the lyric Ride the Morning Glass is from, actually. That's in that song. I think that's going to be, yeah, the next single. And there will be a video for that, which should be
Okay.
exciting.
So with all that being said and done, thank you so much for
Thank you
doing
so much.
this. Where can we be able to find you?
You can find us on Instagram. We are champs, champs, champs. Um, and TikTok, we are also champs, champs, champs. Where else? Twitter, I think we're champs official. Oh, or are we champs official on Instagram? I'm just going to check that because those followers matter. But yeah, we're on all the normal platforms. You can find us, and yeah, hopefully we'll be coming out to America to play some shows. I think.
That would be
Not
lovely.
sure. Not sure when, but keep your eyes peeled.